Today is the day that I am finally going to be sharing some reviews, some thoughts on the manga that you guys voted for and that won my shoujo event. Hello friends, happy Friday, so very excited that you're here. Oh my goodness, y'all, I have some thoughts on this manga. So if you're unsure of what shoujo event that I am referencing or talking about, I have been hosting an annual event where it's called my Read and Review Shoujo Spree. You guys give me recommendations or nominations for shoujo manga that you would love to see me read and review on this channel, and that happens like in December, and then come what? March, April, May, somewhere in there, then you guys go through 3 rounds of voting, and the top 3 that have the most winning votes are the 3 manga that I do a review for on this channel. Out of the 3 manga that won, I'm going to be reviewing 2 of those. I'm going to be doing first impression on them. One of them is Firefly Wedding. Do know that this has 2 volumes, and I will just say, I wish I had volume 2 on hand. Apparently, my library system has changed things because I checked this out from my library, and they are no longer allowing, I'm not sure how to say that, but they are no longer allowing for out-of-county members to have to wait 6+ months to get a hold. Just a few days ago that I got an email from the library saying, hey, you can come pick up volume 2. And I wish I would have done it at that time. Sorry, there's a little bit of a ramble. The other one that I'm just gonna be reading volume 1, despite that there's so many more chapters, is Magical Girl Dandelion. And if you haven't seen my manga news video on Monday, then please go watch it because we got the physical license for this and I am so excited. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to hold this series physically in my hand. For the third one, wasn't part of my event. I actually got a review copy from Viz Media and Beneath the Tangles, a website that I blog for, and that is volume 1 of Snow Angel. Typically for these like first impression videos, I do 3 volumes, and I was like, well, I need 1 more because the other volume or the other series that won for this event, I'll be doing next Friday, and that has 3 volumes out. So yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right in. I'm gonna do these in the order that I read them, and apologies to my friend Audrey because she was literally the only person to actually vote, because on Sunday I did a short asking which of these manga would you like me to read first, and nobody responded, and I was like, okay, and then I put on Instagram, I shared that I had did a short, and my friend Audrey was like, you should read Firefly Wedding first. But apologies, my friend, if you're watching this video, I did Snow Angel first, and I will share why after I tell you what this manga is about. So it's about our main female lead. Her name is Muku. When she was younger, she grew up with this man here who was a young boy then. His name is Yuto, and he has an older brother. She has a younger sister, Inori, and they lived out in the mountains, and their days were wonderful as childhood friends. But then unfortunately, Yuto and his brother, they end up moving, and then shortly after, Muku's father passes away. So her family, her sister and her mother, they go to live with their grandparents. She has been living at home, but now 10 years later, her grandfather has dementia. These family of women are taking care of him, and she has been pushed into this young caregiver role, and she's really feeling like she's drowning due to the burden, the expectations from her mother and her grandmother. Something wild happens, and who of all people should she meet after these 10 years is Yuto himself. They end up meeting, and then a little while later, she ends up finding him at her house, of all things. He overhears this conversation that takes place, and she's like, let me come with you, because him and his brother are about to leave, and she's like, I want to come with you. And so this journey begins of Muku really getting back her life, honestly, and being able to make decisions for herself. If you are on Goodreads and you follow my reviews on there, I gave this 3 stars, and I started my review saying I felt that rating was unfair because I have not been very shy in saying I don't really enjoy reading series like this that have very heart-hitting, heavy topics. A lot of people that I knew that had read this before me had said that they had cried, and I was like, oh no. And even a really good friend said it was a very depressing read, and I was like, oh, my heart. So Audrey, that's the only reason I didn't read Firefly Wedding first, because I sort of felt that I'd rather read sadness and then read unhingedness. That was my line of thinking, because I'm like, if I cry here, pretty sure Firefly Wedding with the unhingedness of go-to would help me out. And yes, it did. It did. So I do apologize, Audrey. Thank you for voting, Fred. Thank you for letting me know. But going back to this manga, I'm thankful I read it. I'm very thankful I read it. Honestly, I'm thankful that this series exists. I've believe it's very important, and I think it has a great message, and I think many people will find relatability. There is such a need for this in the community, and I'm happy to see a manga like this, even if I struggle to read it, because it was hard and it was scary to even picture myself in Muku's shoes. I had no kind of relatability in the sense of I have not been thrust or pushed into a young caregiver role. But the reason I'm glad that I read this, and again saying that I feel like this is a much needed series, because this series, or this volume, excuse me, created an awareness in me that I didn't know that I needed, that I was missing. Honestly, when I was reading this volume reminded me of an old friend of mine who was pushed into a young caregiver role. Now, like in hindsight, I really see how she was so much like Muku, and that the sense she felt like she was drowning, and being, we're right here where Muku's saying there's nowhere to escape, and the imagery of water and Muku drowning by these burdens and these expectations and feeling like she has no life, and the one life she has is thanks to her fantasies and her dreams that she's finding in fiction that is keeping her alive. And I was like, man, that reminds me of my friend. And just in a period of a month, looking back, I see she was a shell of a person that she was the month prior. And this manga just showed me there was so much more I could have done for her. No, I couldn't change her circumstances or her situation. And I don't feel like I would have encouraged her to get out of that situation the same way I feel like Yuto encouraged and helped Muku. But I could have been more aware. I could have been there more for her so that she's not feeling like she's suffocating, that there's nothing she can do, that there's no hope in this situation, because it was hard for my friend. And she had shared like she felt like her life was gone and that she was struggling day to day, but I didn't get it. And reading this volume makes me sad for my past self and that friend. I just couldn't be there for her. I feel again that this created an awareness in me, like I could have been more empathetic maybe. I'm not really sure what the right word is, but I'm glad that I read that, because despite that it was really scary to see Muku living out this life and her leaving and then still being mentally trapped back at home. Like she said, she's physically, I'm gone from my house. Physically, I'm not even there, but yet her brain's still thinking, oh, it's time for my grandpa's meds. Oh, I would be doing this. Oh, I wonder how my sister's doing. I wonder how my mom's doing. All of these things that just kept really, it's like she's still there. That was hard. And the beginning of this manga, like her mom and her grandma, that was upsetting. The things that they were saying to Muku, completely unnecessary. And I'm like, Muku is out here trying, doing everything she can. She has sacrificed so much. And then for them to like, oh, you're such a bad girl because you're not acting a certain way where you come across more giving and more thankful, or you're being too headstrong. There was nothing positive I felt that those women had anything to say to Muku. I was upset. I was like, I can't believe that you're saying this to your daughter when she's giving so much of herself to be here for you because she wants to help. It was very, I'm not sure if bittersweet's the right word, but when she does end up leaving, and that is in the back of the blurb, so it's not a spoiler, but when she ends up leaving, I was happy she was gone, but also worried for her family as well as her reader. It was a very interesting experience because I really feel like the creator does this incredible job where you have these very beautiful panels, like right here where Muku looks so happy. And there are plenty of panels like this where there's beauty and happiness and you could see joy. And then there's other moments like this where you're seeing the water just begin to slowly just come and crawl up to Muku, showing that feeling of drowning. Very excellent balance with the art. I mean, it was very good. Like, this is honestly another series that, even though this series I don't feel like was for me personally, I'm like, the art was breathtaking. And again, I love that balance between the two of where you can feel this darkness, but you can also feel this hope. And shout out to my friend Liz specifically, who did say it is a hard read, but there is hope, because yes, knowing that is what kept me going. And I will say that while I don't have plans to pick up volume 2, I felt like this first volume did end on a hopeful note where I could see that Muku is going to have happiness, that she is fighting for her life and getting back and making these decisions that she felt was lost to her. And that was thrilling to see that. that because she's realizing her feelings, like thanks to Yudo and his brother, of helping her identify like where she's like, what is this emotion? And she didn't know what that emotion was, but by the end, she knows, and she's taking action to help Inori, her sister, to hopefully help her family, because I want nothing but happiness for her and her family. I think it's incredibly disrespectful, and I 100% agree with Yuto, of how her mother and her grandmother are treating our female lead is just wrong. It's just wrong. And, you know, I'm not in that situation, so maybe somebody could clap back and say, Laura, well, you're wrong. But I mean, there is such good eye-opening topics and conversations in this manga that I feel like I have never thought about before. And I definitely feel like if I ever find myself in Muku's shoes, hands down, I will be coming back to this manga, because I think for many people who may identify and relate to her, this will be a deeply encouraging read that will feel so seen on a level that I have not seen in other manga at all. It was very incredible, and it's amazing to me because I sort of thought there would be more romantic vibes or themes, and that was not there. I'm pretty sure romance will unfold later on, but this first volume really focuses on Muku's struggle and her starting to have these breakthroughs that I truly hope only continue for her as the series goes on. It was a very hard but beautiful read that I would definitely recommend if you want something that's similar to, I would say, to My Girlfriend's Child or Sheltering Eves, that have these harder topics and themes that are not prevalent in majority of, I would say, from my experience, in the majority of shoujo manga. Again, that you want something maybe that's not focusing on the romance, where it's really focusing on the lead, her struggle, her hope, her journey, and then where romance will slowly unfold and bloom. This is such a manga that I would definitely check out. And again, that's why I said that on Goodreads, I feel like my rating was unfair, because this is such a good story. It was just not a story that I would naturally gravitate towards, but I'm still glad that I gave it a chance. And you know, maybe things will change and I'll pick up volume 2. I feel like this volume itself will stick with me and helping me in the future if I know friends that are just like Muku, that have been in that young caregiver role, and what I can do as an outsider and be able to support them and care for them, even if it's at a distance. Like that's so much more. And again, just leaves me very thankful that I ended up reading this. The second volume I read was Firefly Wedding, and this was just as unhinged as I thought it would be. Let's talk about what this book is about before we jump in. So it's about our female lead. Her name is Sadako, and she is a beautiful, ethereal young woman. For all the men want her, she's got plenty of suitors, because this happens during, I think, the Meiji, during the Meiji era. She is a noblewoman, and her father has been trying to set her up with a arranged marriage, but there is a thing that leaves her hesitant to actually commit to marrying somebody, and that's because she has a heart condition, and according to her doctor, she only has a short amount of time left to live. So she's very leery to get married and then finally reveal that information when she wants them to know upfront, but at the same time, she's like, who's gonna marry someone like me that has this heart condition and not much time left to live? A lot of money would have to be poured into her for, I guess, her condition to change and her to get the help that she needs. Well, one day she decides, after having a fight of sort with her sister, she decides to go into town. She wants to get her father a present because she's very close to him, even though her father has remarried and her stepmother hates her, as well as her stepsister. Well, much to her surprise, she ends up getting kidnapped. She's taken to this place, and after she's kidnapped, the people tell her, when it's 9 o'clock, we want this assassin, Goto, right here, that we want you to take her out and kill her. She doesn't want to die. She may not have much time left, but she is not ready to die. She's thinking of everything, how she wants to fulfill her father's wish of getting married and making him a happy father, happy dad. So she's trying to bribe her way into convincing Goto, and he's like, well, if you can give me something better than what these men are paying me, then yeah, I'll protect you. And so she says, I am somebody very important, and what about if we get married and then I could promise you freedom and whatever else that you would like? He agrees. He agrees, but again, he is an assassin, and he is an unhinged assassin. And so this is a story between a young kidnapped woman who finds herself on this island, and the only way apparently to get off, according to Goto, is if she becomes a prostitute and somebody buys her off this island, where she can become free and they can become happily married. Man, I read a little bit of this when the license announcement first came out, and I will just stand by as I did back then. This story is addictive. It is addictive. It was a little bit intense for me. I'm not gonna say no to that, but it was really hard to stop reading. Sadako is a very fascinating female lead because she is very much aware that she doesn't have much time. The thing is though, is when she meets Goto and she's seen this bloodbath before her, she makes these quick decisions that are going to impact her not just in that moment, but what could be a lifetime. She is constantly overwhelmed, but yet here she's saying, Goto, let's get married. Then telling him why she supposedly loves him, and yet she's terrified out of her mind half the time, but yet she's like, okay, I will become a prostitute if that's what it takes to get off this island. And I am consistently mind blown how she's making these decisions in this time, this period of being overwhelmed, and be able to move forward. Like there's a scene where she's at this island and Goto looks like he's about to leave her because he's literally the only person she can rely on. And she goes out there, she eats some rice that fell on the ground, and then she dances. And the look that she gave him, oh, it was so good. It was so good. I was like, girl is just on fire. Like, she may have a weak condition, but her mind, no, she's a very strong individual. And I felt like there was such a realism to her actions where I just was like, girl, if I'm in your shoes, I'm going to be sitting here crying. I don't know if I would have the heart to say I'm going to marry this assassin who has these really intense and scary moments like this where you're like, what do we do? Like, there were so many times I'm like, girl, I sort of feel like you should leave, you know, just a little bit, just maybe. Like, let me see if I can find when we first, oh yes, when we first meet him. Look at this! Look at this! The art is so good in creating these moments where I'm like, my heart is beating outside of my chest, and I'm not even in the manga, but I'm scared right now. Like, very, very good, like, extremely compelling and engaging. And when it comes to Goto himself, he's such a fascinating character. I'm like, girl, you need to get away from him. But then he has these other moments where, yo, like, he's cute, he's sincere, he's like, you're a beautiful woman. And then when they're together later and it's been confirmed that they're going to be this married couple, he's got some really sweet moments. And it is just one of the most interesting experiences I've had reading because I don't know what to do. I feel like it sort of reminds me, oh, you can't see it. I thought I had Taemin up here. It sort of reminds me, I don't know, I just literally was looking at Taemin this morning because it's been his birthday this week, but he reminds me of a much more unhinged version of Taemin, and I'm thankful that Taemin prepared my heart a little bit because I'm like, okay, Goto is a little bit scared. He's a very interesting character. I really love this scene, and it was just, I felt bad for, like, both of these leads. Like, they're so different, and I really feel like, even though Goto really is super unhinged, completely unhinged, 100 out of 100. Sadako's got a little bit of her own unhinged moments, and she is no pushover. Right here, I have a bad heart, so I don't have long to live. I spend my days preparing for the worst, and I really think it creates this view on her life and how this story is unfolding. But you know, let us rewind. What is that beginning? What is that beginning? Is that a foreshadowing? I have seen covers for the latest volume, or like I've seen all the covers for like the later volumes in English and Japanese, but like the latest cover, I was like, that flower symbolizes something. Who is that at the beginning of this volume? I don't know if I should show pictures. It's not necessarily really a spoiler because we don't know who it is, but I honestly feel like this is sort of what's happening in the now is a flashback, and we're technically in the future. But who is the person at the beginning? And what is their role? What is happening? Is this series going to even end on a happy note? Because I don't know, I feel like I had a lot of questions just from those first few pages. And I was honestly, even after I finished, I looked back, I was like, could that be Goto? I was like, I don't know. I have questions about that. That's like, it leaves me a little bit nervous. Maybe I shouldn't be nervous because it does say, pretty sure it's Sadako's voice saying, and I was truly happy. So she was happy. Does she have a happy ending with Goto? The series is ongoing, so none of these questions can be answered right now. I would like to think that these two will continue to be together because I want them to be together. And I was honestly really happy for how long they were together on page, like through the entire volume. I don't know if it's just because of a recent volume I read and the leads separated. I'm like, the best parts of the series are when the leads are together. So I was really happy, despite being a little bit scared for Sadako at times, that I was really happy that they were together so often. And there was just no separating them. And when there looks like there's one moment that Sadako clapped back, I was like, you go, girl, tell him. It was great. It was great. That was honestly one of my favorite scenes, just that dance moment. I loved it so much. But it was very intense, and I don't know if I could continue to read it. I want to read it, but I guess I'm just worried. I'm just worried because I know I read past where it ended in this volume, but I don't really remember how it unfolds. And like, my heart just breaks for Sadako because she's trying to tell people like, hey, I have been kidnapped, and like, nobody's listening. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And Goto is out here being his crazy self of like, seem like he doesn't care, and then he does care. And when she's like, why do certain things matter? And he's like, well, you said, and gets really get those creepy expressions where I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that, like, let's keep him on the happy side. But he does have really sincere, earnest moments that I genuinely think that he does care for Sadako. And I think Sadako is going to care for him. I like to think that anyway. And at least I do honestly want that. I'm not going to lie. I do want that. I may be afraid for her at times, but this is a good one. This is a good scene where he's like, don't ever leave my side. And I truly hope with this goal that they have, with this, or, getting off this island, that where once you're on, that's it. There's no escaping. I mean, like he said, you have to become a prostitute to get off the island. I hope things work out where she can, but he better be there too. He better be there too, because I don't want them to be separated. I want them to always be by each other's side, and I want to see how Sadako grows beside him and how she changes, because she was so strong in this first volume. Really loved just everything that she was doing, in the sense of, I just can't imagine being in her shoes. And I mean, like, at one point she says, this feels like a bad dream and I just can't wake up. And I wish that she could. I wish she could just wake up and it'd be all over. I mean, she's recognizing, like, I've been pampered my whole life and I don't know what to do in these moments, and she's just doing the best that she can, and I truly think that is more than enough. Thankfully, Goto does seem like he really is going to stick by her side, even with those moments where I'm reading on my couch and I'm trying to back up from the book but yet keep reading at the same time. I don't know how that was working for me, but I kept reading. But I liked it though. I did enjoy what I read, and I would like to get volume 2 from my library, because I don't foresee myself picking up this series physically for my own collection, but it's definitely not one that I want to like stop reading. And so I think if you're looking for more of maybe a darker overtone shoujo, I don't know if that's quite the right word, but if you need some unhinged shoujo, yes, this is it. It's definitely nothing like I've read before. I honestly was really surprised how hooked I was, and sad that I didn't have volume 2 on hand. I just truly hope that this series does end on a happy note. I have no idea if it's like gonna be ending soon. I haven't seen any signs or tweets or anything about that, but I just really hope that it does, because I feel like I will be very crushed to be on this journey that's just so crazy and so different than anything I've read, only for it to end on a sad note. And right now there's more fear than there's definitely not really any sadness. I mean, there is, I feel like, a few moments where she's missing home, but it's an engaging, interesting story that, yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. And last but not least, I want to share thoughts on Magical Girl Dandelion Volume 1, which is chapters 1 through 5. This series is currently on the Viz app, and I've loved it so much, I decided to keep it fair, Volume 1's only. And I'm glad that I went back to the, hold on, Laura, hold the phone. First, let me tell you what it's about. So Volume 1, I don't know how I'm going to do this with showing screenshots. I don't want to share too many because I don't know what's like appropriate for the amount of screenshots you can share. So I do apologize if I don't share a lot of like different images from the manga. Since it's digital only, I have no pretty manga to hold in my hands, but coming next year I will be. But it is about our female lead. I hope I'm saying her name right. I feel like I'm putting too many letters in there, but Tom Popo. She is a young student that goes to school, and she also is friends with a fiend. His name is Shade. Her parents, unfortunately, in this world, you have magical girls and fiends, and the fiends are like the bad guys. They attack human beings while the magical girls fight these these fiends to keep humanity and humans safe. Well, unfortunately for our female lead, the fiends took out her parents and Shade was there, and she has sort of looked up to Shade despite that he's the bad guy. She has looked at him as if he was a hero, especially in her own life. She has been living with her grandfather, and she goes to school one day, she gets called to the principal office, and lo and behold, she sees that this company called Butterfly that is sort of basically in charge of recruiting magical girls is like, hey, we would like you to become a magical girl. You have the stats, and yeah, we want you to become one. And she is shocked. She's shocked, and so going back home and she tells Shade, like, I could be a magical girl, and he is not on board. But her reasoning is if she's a magical girl, she can fight alongside Shade and help keep him safe as well. And so begins this journey of, can a magical girl really team up with the bad guy, and can they go and fight these ultimate bad guys in this series? I will just say this is more of not the best first impression because I've already read it once, but I did forget half the things that happen in this volume 1, but I could tell you that I loved it just as much. I don't have much experience reading magical girl manga. In fact, the only magical girl series that I know for sure I've actively read and I have a review on is Magic Knight Rayearth, and I absolutely adored that manga. It is phenomenal. I have a review of it and I have an unboxing of the box set on this channel. So that's the only experience that I have. And so coming into this manga and my memories from watching Sailor Moon the anime as a kid, where I really associate magical girl series as bright and bubbly and not having these like horror-like elements that are in Magical Girl Dandelion, because I was so surprised by that. Even Magic Knight Rayearth didn't have that horror element. There was no like fish woman or anything like that. And yeah, like things with trees and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm pushing myself with a little bit of horror-like vibes in some of the series, like Queen's Quality. Yeah. Anyway, I don't like being scared, so I feel like that's a big step for me. So as I was saying though, I find it very interesting that our female lead, that she views Shade as this hero. Like, I love throughout this volume that when she's feeling down or low and she's like, man, how would a hero act in this moment? And the first person she's thinking of is Shade, and the first person she's mimicking is Shade. I love that. And it's interesting because, you know, having this bad guy, this villain, work with a magical girl seems so unheard of. Like, it's unheard of in this world, but I feel like out of the like manga that I do know and have heard about, it also feels like, wow, like that's not something typically a magical girl will do. But our female lead, our magical girl Dandelion, she is so much a magical girl. She has the heart. Everyone, I want to save everyone. It doesn't matter if they're a good guy or a bad guy. And I will say, out of any of these 3 manga that I cried in, it was rereading Magical Girl Dandelion, because I feel like the opening chapters really focuses on our female lead and us getting to know Shade, seeing their friendship, seeing them like have this friction between them because she loves him so much, and then for him to like pull back because he's like, you want to be a magical girl? Like, do you know who I am? Puts her almost like in a dangerous situation where it was like, what are you doing? Like, you just seem like she's calling you her best friend and you over here look like you about to choke her out. Like, what is going on? And I had forgotten that I felt that fear for her, but we see why he acted the way he did and what he's doing sort of behind the scenes a little bit. I mean, he's not just watching movies, like we get that implication of what he's doing, but seeing then it go into the actual real first baddie that we meet was so heartbreaking, and I got so emotional reading it. And I will say, really loved, I don't remember when this series started like coming out on Viz Media on the app, but I have been playing Twisted Wonderland. You guys know I love it. That was one of my wins from the Viz Media license announcements. I remember very vividly when around the time I was starting this, I wanted something related to Wonderland because of Twisted Wonderland, and having a like mini Wonderland inspired arc was everything that my heart had been wanting, and I love seeing all of that. Like, the art in this series is fantastic, so good, and you could really feel the emotions of every single character, whether that's our magical girl or whether that's Shade or if that's the villain or just one of the side characters. Like, you really feel the heart that's behind every person's actions. Like, I feel like their motivations just shine on page, whether it be good or bad, and it doesn't have to be just what they're physically saying, but again, those actions of how they're acting. It is wonderful and amazing, and Shade and the magical girl's relationship is just everything. It has continued to shine as the series goes on further, but in these first few chapters, I love seeing it established and how really that they are a team. team. They are on two opposing teams, Shadow and Light, and yet here they are coming together. And it has been so satisfying to see a series like that that goes past what I feel like maybe, for at least for me speaking from my experience, of what I feel like, well, if it's a magical girl series, the good guys stay with the good guys and the bad guys stay with the bad guys. And then, you know, sometimes that the good guy might have to work with the bad guy, but it's for one time only. It's not a complete series. Yet this series here is doing that. It is going across, breaking that boundary, and here they are going together forward. Though I will say with Miss Peony, I feel a little bit bad for her and how her and Shade started in the beginning. And I was like, oh, that's not why their friendship is what it is today. But there is something so special about this series that I love how it's really getting me excited for magical girl manga, because I feel like, I don't know, I'm sure some of it's a community influence because we get like so much Sailor Moon and people just seem so, like older fans seem so tired and burned out of all of these like Sailor Moon licenses, and myself included. Despite that I haven't read Sailor Moon, it's like, well, I get that this is like a really amazing series and it's very nostalgic for a lot of people, including myself, but like, isn't there other magical girl manga? You know, especially shoujo. There's something else. And so I feel so fired up to really have this experience as an adult to dive into a magical girl manga that's so different from what I remember as a kid with Sailor Moon, and even different than Magic Knight Rebirth, and especially showing, you know, that just because these series do have a lot of sparkles, which I love, that there are some darker moments and there is pain and there is heartbreak. And we especially see that with our magical girl with a certain character. That is where she's got to make her choice of, she has been taught and it's encouraged in this world that if there's a fiend, you take that thing out. But obviously that mindset is already being questioned and broken right from the start, when we see that before she even realizes she's a magical girl or has been called to be one, that she's friends with a fiend and she has no desire to ever take him out. So right then, there's already something breaking the truth in this world. But for it to keep going further, where things, I feel like expectations that, again, of like the good guy and the bad guy are always separate, like those are being broken. And so as an adult, it's really exciting to have this fresh and unique story that has completely captivated my heart. So engaged with seeing our magic girl thrive and her really want to save people and living that out. Despite that Miss Peony is like the strongest OG magical girl in this series, I think, and she has such a hardened mindset, and like I get it, like referring to these first 5 volumes in a very specific scene, and it's just interesting seeing how we have Tampopo with her almost coming across as very naive, but so much passion and strongness. And I mean, Miss Peony is definitely very strong, but like it's different between them. I love them both though. I do love them both, but man, it's been really exciting and really, really thrilling. I love the art very much, and I just can't get enough of it, y'all. I can't get enough of it. I don't know how much else I should say since I am reading this as the chapters come out, but it honestly just continues to get better and better, and I'm still so excited that we got a physical license of this. This is a series I definitely like rereading. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come back to this time and time again, because I feel like it's just really encouraging, and seeing so much heart in our magical girl and then Shade with his antics. It's a fun and enjoyable time, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a new magical girl series to read. If you want that opposing light and dark and them somehow working together and having this blooming friendship between them that's really close, having a magical girl do everything she can to save everybody despite it, the world's like, no, you can't do that. Especially too, really amazing art. This is your series. It's been so good, and I definitely want to keep reading or rereading where I stopped, because I just stopped at volume 5 since I was told that's the full first volume. It is wonderful, and as you can see, for the most part, I really enjoyed all these series. I mean, Magical Girl Dandelion definitely was my favorite, but then I would say Firefly Wedding and Snow Angel. Hopefully here soon. I actually have to go back to my library to not only return this, but there is something else I've got to get or something. So I want to get volume 2, and hopefully nobody has checked it out. It's been past the time that I'm supposed to pick up my hold. But yeah, I hope that I was able to do all of these series justice, and let me know, which one are you most interested in? If you've read these, which one are you most excited for and really loving? Let me know down below, and definitely stay tuned for next week for the last winner from my event. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!